What's the creepiest thing you've come across on Reddit? I can't find it anywhere, but does anyone remember something where there was a girl by herself at home? She was talking to her friend on the phone while laying on her bed. She then dropped her phone, and when she was picking it up, she saw a reflection of a face underneath the bed. She proceeded to talk to her friend and calmly say she was going to have a shower and hung up the call. She ran into the bathroom, locked the door and jumped out of the window. She called the cops. Later they arrived and arrested a man who was standing right outside that door holding a knife. This really freaks me out to this day. There was an article on it too. I can't for the life of me find his post, and I don't remember the parent thread, but I really hope someone knows what I'm talking about. Basically, a redditor was answering a thread a lot like this one. Like, what's the creepiest thing that's ever happened to you, etc. He wrote about a time where he was in Africa on some humanitarian trip, and it was nighttime and they were standing around their jeep in some remote village. All of a sudden, their guide, an older South African guy, says get in the car. They're like, what? And he says, get in the car now. So they all jump in the jeep. Seconds later, a naked, bloody African woman comes tearing out of the underbrush and slams into the jeep, starts banging on the windows like she wants to kill them. The guide floors it in reverse and they get out of there, watching the woman creepily fade in the dusty red light behind them. She mentions that they told the local cops about it and apparently they went to check it out, but they never heard anything about it again. Super creepy. Yep, I remember it. Rural Africa sounds like a huge nope to me. I mod a true crime subreddit. A few years ago, a user on a new account posted some extremely graphic pictures, claiming that they had killed and were going to kill again. Reverse image search. 0 results. I forwarded it to the admins at once and advised they contact the authorities immediately. I hope they did something. Jesus. Yeah, I hope they were able to track that user down. That's some gut-wrenching and terrifying crap. Remember reading about a guy who was with his GF and her family around a bonfire. They were getting drunk and one of her brothers says how he likes taking pop shots at hikers on the trail. They just got back from hunting and all had rifles. Then another one said how he saw a lady hiking, so he followed her, found her camp, RP'd her, made her write a suicide note, then he killed her. Now that's pretty fricked by itself. What makes it worse though is a commenter said how there's an unsolved death of a woman on that same trail, who had a small camp, was alone and killed herself. No one found the camp for a few years, but they knew she went missing. Remember reading the article they linked and fricking heck it's eerie. I believe it was a post from WatchPD. It was a gif from a security cam of a mom and her son going up an escalator. As they were getting to the top, the escalator started coming apart and collapsing. So as this is happening, the mother throws her son to safety on the platform above, but then falls into the gears of the escalator. As she is swallowed up and crushed by the gears, her son watched her disappear and die. That one fricked me up for a while. One time a few years ago, I was reading a user's comment history and I saw one comment she'd left in a normal subreddit. Can't remember which one. Talking about how she always wanted to be a mother due to her naturally nurturing and compassionate nature. A few posts down from that one, I saw another comment she left in a subreddit full of pictures of dead children where she was lamenting the fact that the mods no longer let you post lewd comments on the pictures of dead kids. What? For me, it's the post from the guy who didn't hear his wife being attacked and RP'd downstairs because his gaming headset was noise cancelling. Eventually he does hear something and goes to investigate. The RPist was still on top of her until OP shot him. I wear bone conductive headsets, usually with one pushed up a bit so that my ears are fully exposed so that I can still hear my wife if she ever needed me. I remember that one. I always leave one ear open and I pause music or mute stuff regularly because of it. A video of a man sticking a big toe up his dong hole. Goddamn 50-50 leads to some weird crap. The recording of the woman calling 911 and then gets killed in the middle of the call. A few years ago, a contractor posted about how he killed a house full of people by accident by causing a carbon monoxide leak in their home while working on the HVAC system. He wasn't caught. That guy who crawled into a tiny tunnel in a cave and died upside down when he got stuck. So disturbing to imagine knowing that your last day on earth was spent upside down, nearly losing consciousness with you and your very upset family contemplating how bad you fricked up. Haunted me for days. This is one of the scariest things I've read and seen on Reddit, and I hope the OP is okay. Have not seen Reddit updates, but if I remember correctly, it was a front page post. There was a woman who lived at home in an apartment building and would get random knocks on her door. There would be banging and screaming while she was inside alone. I think her husband was a doctor and had odd hours, and this only happened when he was away. She was able to take a really poor quality photo of him out her window, and you can see him facing and looking into her apartment. Redditors were suggesting he was doing this to essentially torture her, and warned that it might escalate to something much more dangerous. Obviously he was stalking her because he knew when she'd be alone. Ever since I read her post, I have been terrified to answer the door. I think about her constantly and really hope she's okay. There was one girl in our Let's Not Meet who said she worked at a bar, I think, in Australia, and one customer really liked her and was creepy, and after a while was kicked out by whatever the guards are called. She said after that, when she went out to leave her shift, the guy somehow figured out her car and sat on it. She got the guard, I think, and the guy was taken away. This stuff goes on for a few nights or weeks. Can't remember, it was a few months ago. She then one time left to go to work and she forgot something, so she headed back home and he was standing in the hallway like, hello honey, and yeah. Cops were called and apparently he'd been living in her crawl spaces for weeks or months. She said she then moved states after that. I'm also Australian and got freaked out reading it because that stuff rarely happens here or isn't covered often. You can find some fricked up crap on Reddit 50/50. I came across a child holding his dead dad crying in Africa. That one messed me up so bad. There was also that kid that had his jaw blown off and he was kicking and screaming the whole time. That one really got me too. This was fairly recently, I think within the past 5 months. A woman posted on our legal advice that her husband had used the constraints attached to their bed to tie her down for some fun, started making love to her, and then went to answer the door when someone knocked. Long story short, he watched as a bunch of his friends took turns gang-upping his wife, while telling her how much he loved her for letting him do this. He had her gagged with a sock before going to answer the door, so she couldn't respond or scream. She received a lot of great advice on what steps to take. She was posting while locked in the bathroom after all the friends left. Her last update on the original post was that the police had come and arrested the husband and were taking her to the hospital. I think about her almost every day, hoping she's okay, and that she's safely away from that creep of a husband. I can't find the post now, and I'm guessing it was removed on the advice of her lawyer. I also haven't seen any update. There's a part of me, though, that hopes it was taken down because it was all a lie, and there wasn't really a husband who would do something so atrocious to his wife, all while pretending he loved her. A guy asking if it was legal to watch child pee if the children were now over 18. I don't remember what sub it was on, but it was before I really used Reddit. A friend sent me a link and it was a bunch of things the cartels have done. Burned bodies, skinned skulls, decapitated bodies. I hate to admit how long I looked at it. Carl H teaches programming. Redditor dedicates a huge amount of time creating and maintaining a subreddit to teach people programming. He's articulate, super nice, positive. Only he wasn't. He was a piece of crap who was upping his kid with his partner on the regular. He killed himself in prison. I hope his kid is doing okay. Pretty NSW. So fair warning. Back when Watch PRPD was still online, someone posted a video of a guy who'd attempted to kill himself with a shotgun to the head, and failed. Let's just say that video is still burned into my brain. I think it was on Reddit, but this woman was diagnosed with a disease and her posts showed her slow descent into madness. Chilling stuff. Found an account that had been posting pictures of underage girls ripped off of Instagram. Every single girl he posted was in my high school. The one that always turns my stomach is the guy who had a body part amputated for a legitimate medical reason, and then took the appendage home and made tacos out of it. The guy who shot his dong off with a revolver. Not sure if this was from Reddit, but it's a story that always got me. The girl tells how she was walking home one day and when she gets home she sees her mom coming out of the front door and her mom looks past her and says, "Who the heck are you?" And the narrator says how she turned around and saw a man turning away and walking back down the street. Her mom had come home sick from work, and if she hadn't been there, then who knew what would have happened. That always gets me. There was a thread on our Throw Off My Chest about a guy getting off his chest that he watches child pee. I think there is a sub for recovering CP addicts, but if you read between the lines, most of them aren't trying to get better. The guy who had a dream of black and white people and woke up screaming on his bathroom floor. Then he theorized someone broke into his house and drugged him. That was a mad ride. Someone I'd never interacted with DM'd me my first and last name. For me, it's usually the real life, everyday seeming people who do awful things but are so far out of touch with reality that they think they're normal. One being that dude who literally stalked that in report a woman. He made constant posts in like legal advice or something asking if he could sue her to unblock him. When people, rightly, brought up that he was a nutbag and belonged in jail or counseling, he repeatedly defended himself by saying they were in love and if she could just meet him she would see, etc. Like all the classic stalker reasoning. He absolutely refused to see anyone else's logic and was clearly mentally ill but not willing or able to see how badly he needed help. And this poor woman was caught in the middle of it for no real reason other than he saw some articles she had written. The other one was the legal advice post from the dude who basically trapped and assaulted a girl in his home and was asking how he could get out of the charges she was pressing against him. Only, he told the story the way a sociopath trying to get sympathy would, but the glimmers of what really happened were easily recognizable in the post. She came in, he locked the door and she was nervously on her phone. He made a move. She said no. He took her phone away. He then made a move again and eventually she relented. Then he went to take a shower and when he got back he found that she had bolted out the door and gone to police and he couldn't figure out why. And in his words, "It was a dating ad, so why would she respond to a dating ad and come to my house if she didn't mean it?" Classic no equals yes defense. There are some nasty people on this website. If it's an obvious throwaway or whatever, it's easy to justify some of them as trolls. It's the ones you can tell are actual deluded people that are willingly breaking the law but think they're right that are really scary, because it's entirely possible that person is your co-worker, or a friend of a friend, etc. The Tumblr of that cutter goth girl who cut herself like, down to the bone. Stitched herself up regularly. Huge scars. Really gruesome and unsettling. I saw someone with scars like her come in my place of work. She's super cheery and I can't help but think about that user when I see her. A few years ago, someone in a gaming doxed me and made a subreddit about me that included pictures of me from when I was a kid, where I lived, various social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, etc., and some other stuff. The admins removed it and banned the person who made it within an hour or two of when I reported it, but it was still up for about 12 hours for anyone to see. UI Sarah Lafif it's very sad and scary. She started off a bit kooky, worried about having Lyme's disease and just gets more and more insane. Somebody came posting to legal advice, claiming that she had been our pet and wanted to know what to do from there, except they hadn't bothered making an alt account. So posters there quickly sussed out from their post history that he was an incel, and he was actually looking for advice on how to get away with it. That and another post where one of them fantasized about maiming his roommate were the final straws for Reddit to finally ban their original sub. Probably the subreddit that used to be Architectural Corpses. A few months ago a redditor discovered that a men's health trauma release coaching group was using their company as a front to teach wealthy men physical, psychological, legal tactics to ARP and assault women. They would hidden camera film themselves actually ARPing unsuspecting women and sell the footage to their clients for $$. A redditor hacked into the website and released some of these videos and it is literally the most disturbing crap I have ever seen, internet or not. If you want to see that post, you can go to RRBI and search for the most upvoted post of all time on there. The videos were taken down via DMCA, but the non-video content that was uncovered is also pretty disturbing though. It was detailed ARP assault strategies. Crap like telling men how to apply Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to ARPing women. Probs this guy who got a cell phone snuck in at a mental health ward who was trying to convince people that he was given milk from the future or some crap, like he posted links to blurry pictures he sneakily took in their mess hall with the date of the milk as if it was super insane stuff when it was an average expiration date. Felt super bad for them cause they felt like the government was controlling their mind or some crap. I somehow ended up on a website that had pictures of a dismembered man being used for intercourse, and the worst part was that people commented on the pictures saying they were so hot. Needless to say, I took a break from Reddit for a while, and when I came back I stuck to RI bleach. The creepiest thing I've seen is a screenshot where an incel argued that they should have the right to pay a 3-year-old, then bemoaned the fact they are outcasts. I think it was a post on our relationship advice where this girl walked in on her boyfriend masturbating and he acted really weird about it and hid his phone. So later, out of curiosity, she looked through his phone, and not only did she find naked photos of herself while she was asleep, she also found child pee. There was also another post on one of the revenge subs where OP hated his manager and or co-worker. I don't remember who, but his girlfriend at the time started acting all buddy with the co-worker's girlfriend, and one night invited them to hang out and go to a concert. But the co-worker got so drunk they left him, so the other 3 go to the concert. After the concert they go back to ARP's place and the girlfriend initiates intercourse in the dark, but suddenly OP hears a moan and it's not his girlfriend on top of him. So basically it was ARP's girlfriend's plan to get a pic of the co-worker's girlfriend cheating, but technically she just set up her boyfriend to get ARP head. Like everyone in the comments was saying he got ARP head, which is true because he didn't consent to having intercourse with someone other than his girlfriend. Reading both posts just left me feeling so heavy-hearted and sick. For some reason I used to sort comments by new in popular threads, and I came across a comment that just felt a little off. So I went to see the poster's other comments, and it was clearly written by a person suffering from paranoid schizophrenia. They were convinced that Jon Stewart, this was years ago, was going to come save them from the institution that they were staying in. Stephen Colbert was also involved in the plot to save them. I even found a few photos they had posted of themselves. I don't know how else to describe it, but the writing style was just so off-putting and sad. Wish I could recall it better, but this one gives me the creeps every time I remember it. It was about someone who used to have sleepovers at some friend or relative's house, and they would be haunted by someone they used to call the Moon Man or something like that. And later they found out they were actually being drugged and abused by some real person. And the ARP's haunting memory was something his brain made up just to cope with the situation. Scary and sad. I remember this one. Art's relatives were drugging him, calling it moonshine, and he only figured it out after he was working with it in a lab and got a whiff. I work as an courier for DoorDash, Postmates, Uber Eats. When I'm out, if I have to wait, I'll talk to others who are out. One day I met this little old lady who was doing it to make extra money and to give her something to do. She was super nice and we talked for about 10 minutes. After that we both got our orders at the same time and we got in our cars. She had a very distinct car that I won't describe for reasons. But a week later I'm on a different site and someone had a screen grab of a post that had since been deleted. I think it was our confessions or some other subreddit where people talk about things without judgment for the most part. Basically, guy was dealing with mental health issues and was talking about the woman who delivered his food. It would be easy. She was old, frail. I could have done it so easily. I doubt anyone would have heard it. Pulled her into my house and that would be that. Or something close to it. I just remember he spent a few lines describing what he would do to her. But the start of the post he talked about her car. And like 5 things he mentioned. Paint, defects in the car, bumper stickers, were this lady's car. It was horrifying. She had no idea she was so close to a horrible fate if this guy had been even a bit more unhinged. Now I tell myself, it had to be an edgelord. Trying to make people feel uncomfortable. It wasn't true and she wasn't in danger. But what if he wasn't? What if every time someone delivers his food it's a roll of the dice? What if I've delivered to him? Does a post with my info exist out there, with someone talking about doing horrible things to me? I now have picked up my job search as fast as I can. You have been visited by the romantic doggo. Comment love is magic so you never fall in the friend zone. Like and subscribe, you magnificent person.